All right, Shalom. I like to start by saying Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahushai, Barakah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kakadash. Double honors to the others and the fathers of Great Millstone, and enough respect to the brothers that are out there pushing and spreading the truth, all right, which is the gospel to the four corners of the world through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. A topic popped into my mind when I was reading this book that I usually do for entertainment. And when I went back to it, I found a very interesting piece of information on that third page right around here. And really, what it does is that it gives us a sense. It compares the cultures of the West Africans, and most specifically Ghana. But we know that throughout the video, you know that it's not just within the confines of Ghana, but and then it compares the same cultures and languages to those that were brought over to transatlantic slavery, okay, which held the same customs. And so, really, what it does is that it shows us that by the end of this video, it should show us that Israel is not just cooped up in one place. The Most High has not just gathered all of Israel in America and nowhere else in the world. It doesn't work that way. And so that whole narrative, that whole rhetoric that's been going out, it needs to be dealt with. And this is one of them. There's so many holes that a person can poke into it, and so really this is one of the many ways that you can debunk it. um, Also, by the end of this video, I hope to bring my point across that, look, man, Israel is not, like I said, Israel is not just cooped up in one place. The Most High spread Israel throughout the four corners of the world. Now the majority of Israel are in America, okay, for prophecy's sake. And the Most High has brought enough, okay, the majority for prophecies to come to pass. But understand that the Most High also have enough people spread out across the world, all right, for prophecies also to come to pass. And so really, at the end of this video, if you are living in the land of Moab, if you're living in the land of Ammon, if you were born in the land of Edomites, don't you know reject this word. Don't stop yourself from exercising your right as an elect or as a prophet of the Most High, just because somebody's telling you that the land you're living in is not where an Israelite is supposed to be. All right, cool. So the book is Folks and Myth and Folklore, and this is the piece of the information. I tried to find a PDF, but I don't really think I could do that right now. And so what I'm going to do is just read this portion right here. It says, the folklore is a universal narrative form, characteristics of all people. Surprisingly, certain number of ideas kept cropping up in the folks of people around the world. Folk tales from Africa to North America, for example, deals with the trickster, the clever animal or person who survives by his wits and confuses both his friends and enemies. A similar example is given in this text. The folk hero, Anansi, outwits his old rival, the tiger, right? So the main characteristic, the main character of the folklores of the stories that are told among people, all right, is of a character named Anas, right? And that same person, the stories of that person is told in West Africa, and it's told by the same people, by the Israelites that are in America. Okay, they've gone out and lived among people. I think they're called anthropologists. Okay, and then they found the cultures, and then they say, look, man, these are they are doing the same thing. They have the same customs. They have the same interests in certain things. All right. So what I did was I wanted to expound more on that, and so I went to Anansi, and it says that Anansi is an Akan folklore character. He often takes the shape of a spider. All right, and is sometimes considered to be a god of all knowledge of stories. Taking the role of trickster, he is also one of the most important characters of West African, African American, okay, and Caribbean folklore. All right, comparison. All right, correlation between the three of them. It says originated in West Africa, these spider tales are transmitted to the Caribbean by way of transatlantic slave trade. All right, because so really ask yourself, right? It can't be, it can't be the customs of Hamites. If the Hamites subdued the Israelites and sold them off, why would they learn their customs? All right, you have to really think of it. It doesn't happen that way. History doesn't work that way. The man who conquers another city establishes his own image, establishes his own customs. All right. Hence, that's why this is a thing known as Westernization, and not a thing known as, and just there's a thing known as Westernization, because what the Western world has conquered, has a lot of influence. They had a lot, they had a lot of power. There's the whole idea of Westernization came from Esau, and how the world is copying this image. And the way people do that is because Esau, Edom, had conquered the world and has control of the world. And so the reason that these people still have the same custom as the people that went over the transatlantic slavery is because they were the same people. They share the same interests. Okay, they have the same culture. All right. So, and don't get me wrong, man. Not all people in, because Africa is the land of Ham. All right, there are a lot of Hamites that live in Africa, but there is also a significant amount of Israelites that live in West Africa, that live in Africa actually. All right, so you should do to be careful whenever you curse an Israelite just because he's from Africa. And I think this actually happened to Bokwar. Okay, one of the diligent as the young Jedi, as his nickname is. And what happened was, I believe that I forgot the group of Israelites that I forgot what group he came to contact with, but they straight up cursed him out. They called him a Hamite, told him that he was going to die, and he the Most High hates him and all of that, just, and his spirit is obviously not that way, So you can tell straight of his spirit that he's a very diligent brother, and he so continue says Anansi is most known for his ability to outsmart and triumph over more powerful opponents through his use of cunning, creativity, and wits. All right. Let me see if I get the point across. Despite taking on the role of this trickster, Anansi's action in parables often carry him as protagonist due to his abilities to transform his apparent weakness into virtues. He is among several West African tricksters, including Brer Rabbit and Luke Rabbit. Let me get the main point. Right, it says Anansi is depicted in many different ways with different names, from Anansi, Kwakwanansi, Anansi, to his New World alliteration such as Ba'anansi, right? Or Kupadnansi. You have a lot of names for it, but they could tell, by the people and the way that the people describe these names or these characters, they conclude them to be the same person. All right. It says, or Nancy, or Auntie Nancy. And Auntie Nancy is also, so you see how Anansi or Kwakwan Nancy translates into Auntie Nancy or Sister Nancy. And it is because this Auntie Nancy or Sister Nancy is a story that is most shared amongst the slaves, okay, the Israelites that were brought into captivity by the way of ships. And they told a lot of stories about Auntie Nancy and how wise she was and all of that. It's the same thing, translation, but like all things, like all stories that are that are transmitted orally, they change. Okay, that's why it came from Anansi to Nancy. All right. So the correlation is right there. You can read more on it. It's a lot more information, like I said. So we're not gonna do too much into it. Now let's get into the language. Now the Kwakwanansi came from it's most likely originated in the Akan, all right, Ghana, and it says that the predominant language spoken in Ghana is Akan, all right. It says Akan is a central tonal language and is the principal native language of the Akan people of Ghana, spoken over so much southern half of Ghana. About 80% of Ghana's population can speak Akan, and about 44% of Ghanaians are native speakers. It is also spoken in parts of Cote d'Ivoire, all right, or Ivory Coast, as most people know. It says 4 dialects have been developed as literary standards, with distinct orthographies, which is the Fanti, the Bono, Ashanti, and the Kriapim. So this Akan, in other words, is called Chi, and it's broken into four main parts. Now, and one of the parts is called Fanti, one part is called Bono, one part is the Ashanti Chi, and then one part is the Kriapim Chi. All right. Now they sound a little bit different. It's like accents, it's like if if an Issacharite and oh, if an Issacharite and a Simeonite speaking, if they spoke Spanish, they still can understand each other, but certain things are kind of different between them, you know. So I hope you understand that. Let's move on. We're gonna go into this is um, the alphabets. And what I wanted to do is just show the correlation between the Hebrew and the alphabet. They have certain characteristics, the I and the O and this one, and which basically much like, you see the correlation between that and the Hebrew. You see, why can't I highlight them? But yeah, you see the correlation between the Hebrew writing and the Akan language. All right. And this is it right here. You see? And what I wanted to do, yeah, you could pull out, your alphabet on your phone, and then you really look at it properly. This is the best image that I could find, because I wanted the earliest Paleo Hebrew, which is on the very left hand side of it, right here. I wanted that in it too. Okay, so because like this one right here, like the letter A is the same as this one right here, So, there's a similarities there. All right. And also the empire of Ghana. Now, modern Ghana is on this part of the world right here. Let me enlarge it. The modern Ghana is right here, where I'm moving the mouse, is on this little, rectangular kind of land right here. And basically just, Jake moved around, man. Jake moved around. And the whole reason that Jake kind of dispersed throughout the land is because of fucking Ishmaelites, man. They came in with the Hamites, through this part right here, and then kind of conquered the land because they weren't trying to convert. So there was a constant war and attacks and killing, and the people left. Those that fought back died, and then those that were eventually caught were martyred, and those that were afraid of the sword gave into it. Okay, and so eventually they became part of it, and part of this man's empire. Okay, which was Mansa Musa, the richest person. Which really, I'm not really sure. I don't want to make any comment on whether he was an Israelite or not. But I just know that his line was what conquered that land over there. All right. And so it says Mansa the first, or Mansa Musa, was the ninth Mansa of the Mali Empire, an Islamic West African state. At the time of Musa's ascension to the throne, Mali in large part consisted of the territory of former Ghana Empire, which Mali had conquered. All right. So Mali, as you know right now, was also part of the Ghanaian Empire. Now, it says the Empire of Ghana. You're not going to find Ghana as being, like as a Roman Empire or something like that. But it was an empire as in terms of like prosperity, okay? Because the Most High had not set Israel, for the empire that they were in right now. Now they had armies and they have all of that, but the main reason that the empire grew was because of trade. It was very rich in gold and iron, all right, and it was very rich in salt. Okay, one of the most important resources that a person can have in that time. All right. So again, I want to make this really short, just the correlation. So it says the empire roughly ended around like 1,000 years after the Christian era, which is also symbolic, seeing as how that was also roughly the time when the Ishmaelites came in and destroyed. And this was basically the Most High preparing Israel for the captivity or the judgment that he has set up for us. All right. So I originally had this precept because I wanted to show that, Jake, during the empire of Ghana, when they fled from persecution from the Roman Empire, okay, when the millions of them came to West Africa, what happened was that Israel, they usually found each other, right? And they made empires, and they made great cities, and they lived among themselves, because that's what Israel does. And I wanted to use Judges, the 19th chapter, to kind of prove that. And so on Judges 19th chapter, you find right here, this it's about the story of a Levite and his concubine. Okay. And the long story short, his concubine was kind of he was raped by the and killed by um, the Benjamites. Okay, and there's a long story on that. You can read on it. Basically, there was a civil war because of that. And the Most High gave the order for the Benjamites to be put to justice. And what happened was that there was like a mass genocide, and there was only 600 men, and they repopulated themselves after that. Okay, so so the point of Israel in the mindset of always trying to live among their brethren is here. It says, Judges the 19th and 13th chapter. This was the Levite making his trip. Okay, his I believe he was making his trip back to his land, because he had gone to his wife's father's house, his concubine's father's house, to get his concubine back, because his concubine had committed adultery. And after months, he considered the situation and went to his concubine's father's house. He traveled all the way with his servants, and then got his concubine back, because he wanted her back. And so what happened was, on their way back, one of his servants said unto him, come, let us draw nigh unto one of these places to lodge all night, in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were by wait. Right, it says, and so on their way, on their way back, the day was spent, and they were looking for a place to spend the night. It says, and one of his servants said unto him, and when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent, and the servant said unto his master, come, I pray thee, and let us turn in into the city of the Jebusite, and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, we will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel, and we will not pass over Gibeah. And he said unto his servant, come, let us draw near unto these places to lodge all night, in Gibeah or in Ramah. Right? Right. So they wanted to do all. They didn't want to associate themselves with these other nations. All right. So that was pretty much it on that. I hope edification goes out. 18 minutes is not that bad. So again, the main point I want to show you that, look, man, Israel is scattered amongst the entire four corners of the world. All right. And so don't let anybody discourage you from exercising your right, from getting into the scriptures, okay, from fighting for your salvation just because of the land that you were born in, or just because of the land that you live in. All right. Never let anybody do that, man. Salvation is a really precious thing, and it is something that every man needs. All right. It's grievous for you to not seek this thing. All right. So do anything you can to please the Most High, and to plead your case, and to appeal to his wrath. All right. So with that, I hope edification goes out. To the brothers and sisters that are watching, I want to say shalom. Yahweh Shem Yashai Barakatham. May the blessing of election be upon your house. May Yahweh Shem Yashai grant us all salvation, and may his spirit be upon us all. All right. So on to the next one. Shalom.